Is it worth it to visit Costa Rica during the low season? Aqui estamos, mais um dia. E hoje decidi gravar uma daquelas chuvadas que eu tenho falado, mas ainda não tinha gravado, não é? As you could see from this clip, it was actually raining a little bit during September. Low season in Costa Rica is also called the rainy season because of that. And the season goes mostly from the end of May until the end of October. This matches almost perfectly with the waveless European summer that we have over here. So no waves, which begs the question, is it worth it to travel to Costa Rica during this season, even if you're not surfing? And the answer, in my opinion, is yes. And I'm going to give you 6 reasons why that is so. The first reason is it doesn't rain the same all over Costa Rica. I'm gonna put a link in the description to this interactive map that we are actually seeing right now, where you can check how rainfall goes throughout the Costa Rica regions across every month. This is very helpful if you're planning. As you can see here, there's 3 main areas where there's more rainfall throughout the year, and of course there's more rainfall during September and October across the board. Every region experiences a little bit more rainfall during these 2 months, but you can see here that the south, near the border with Panama, and the central mountainous regions is where most rainfall falls, and these areas are not that good to visit during the rainy season. If you see Yaco and all this coastal line more or less in the center of Costa Rica, but on the Pacific side, you can see that the rainfall is much lower than on the south and on the mountains. And if you go further north through the Guanacaste Peninsula, you can see that it is even lower. And the further north you go, the less rain you see. So this means that if you plan correctly, you can actually go through all the so-called rainy season in Costa Rica and almost see no rain. The second reason is the pattern of rain and wind. So now when we talk about this, we are by default gonna exclude the mountainous regions where it rains a lot and also that southern part. And we are gonna be talking about the part that interests us, which is the coastal part above central and north that goes towards the Pacific. So it's this coastal line that we are talking about. Here, the pattern of rain is mostly, it starts mid-afternoon, sometimes it goes into the night, and sometimes just during the night. But usually it does not rain in the mornings. So you have clear mornings. And this is great because this gives you a window, right? The sun rises early, so you can go out at 7 a.m. and enjoy all the morning, mostly with clear skies. When you add to this the pattern of the winds, where it's usually offshore during the mornings, during this same window where there's no rain usually, you get pretty good conditions for surfing. This means glassy swells battering the coastline. You have these 7 to 10 a.m. guaranteed almost every day of surfable conditions. Besides that, it's not like in these areas it rains every single day, you know, like a European winter where every day you got rain during sometimes weeks. Here it doesn't happen like that. So even in September I was in Yaco, so it's not the driest part. You could even go further, like I said, to Guanacaste and Tamarindo, all this part where it's much drier. But even in Yaco, you would get like 3-4 days that it would rain in the afternoons during the week. So it's still 3 days. And if you go further north through Guanacaste Peninsula, you'll have even more days without rain at all. Third reason is prices. So prices go lower on September and October. I was researching lodging for writing the article about this. Just by chance, I wanted to give something more factual, so I just did a search in one of these platforms for October, 30 days, and then 30 days in December and 30 days in January, from the 1st to the 31st of each one of these months. And the prices I got in Santa Teresa, which is one of the better areas for the rainy season, was basically for a bunk bed in December 1,900 euros, and the same bunk bed in January 1,500. And during October, in the same hostel, you would get an individual room for less than $400. So it's quite a significant difference in these. And many other things go down as well because there's less tourists. So massage parlors, renting a motorbike or renting even a car if you rent from a local company, it will probably be much cheaper than if you go during peak season where everything is rented out. The only things that don't go lower are usually transportation, not renting cars or motorbikes, but transportation, actual transportation, and food. Everything else usually goes cheaper during these months because there's less tourists, obviously. So if you find a cheap flight here during these months and you snatch one of these deals, then you basically get prices that you would get in like Indonesia or that you would get in Sri Lanka, Thailand, which makes for a much more compelling case to go there during summer because you're gonna have waves as well and it's gonna be less crowded than, for instance, Indonesia. In fourth place, we got the green season. This season, from May to October, is called low season, rainy season, but also green season. Some people call it green season, and they are right because as soon as it starts raining, you start noticing that the natural parks, the landscapes, and it all comes sort of alive. Even some wildlife becomes more active during the season, as is the case with whales. The presence of whales in the waters of Costa Rica peaks during August to October. So it's one more thing that you could do during these months, which is going on a trip for whale watching, for instance, because the season is appropriate for that. Besides that, even trekking in parks and going to sea parks, spending some days hiking, it all becomes a little bit more pleasant to do with a bit less heat that comes with this season. The fifth reason is that the temperatures remain high. It's not like you're gonna come from summer in Europe through like a cold destination to surf. That's not gonna happen. During the day, you're gonna sweat because humidity goes up even if the temperatures go a bit lower. But overall, the temperatures in Costa Rica tend to stay like stable during the whole year. It varies from 22 Celsius to 28. So not that much variance on the average temperatures. And even though you feel it a little bit cooler when you start reaching September, it's welcome. And lastly, we get to surf. For me, this was the first and main reason why I went there, and I left it for last because I wanted to talk about other things. If you're going to surf, then the low season is indeed the best season to go. And this is because the same storms and atmospheric systems that create more rainfall, that bring these storms to Central America, also bring with them bigger and more consistent swells to the shores of the Pacific side. This means that you'll have daily surf. It's not always gigantic swells or anything like that, but it's consistent. You probably can surf any given day when you are like in near Yaco, Playa Hermosa, and that part of Punta Arenas, and probably also in Guanacaste. So the increase in consistency for the swells, allied to the no rain mornings and offshore winds during the morning, mean that you can surf most of this coast during the rainy season. So the only thing that you have to pay a bit attention is if you come in September and October. These months you should really be on Guanacaste Peninsula because the other part, Punta Arenas down to the south, it starts getting a lot of rain, right? So these 2 months they should be spent on Guanacaste, preferably if you go upper north into the area of Tamarindo. But Santa Teresa and these areas, they should still hold okay, you know? And that's it. I hope that if you're thinking that maybe it could be a good option, but you were put off by the forecast of rain and it being called rainy season, maybe this gives you some insight. And check that map that I put the link on the description because it really can help you see how the rain plays out. And if you plan accordingly, I'm sure you can get rain-free vacations during the rainy season, even in the peak months of rain, like September and October, as long as you pay attention to these and move to the areas where it doesn't rain as much. I'm gonna continue doing these small videos with tidbits and information, tricks, tips that I found useful by traveling to some place and share it with you in case it also is helpful for your own trips. And if you see here, we have some swag. So if you're interested in getting some of these t-shirts, just head to the store. It's linked in the description and order yours. And I'll see you on the next one.